Hello everybody, this is Carolyn Serviss and I am a Stampin' Up! Independent demonstrator, and I have a fun card to show you today with a technique to go along with it. So this is using the Earthen Textures stamp set and dies. So they look like this, and I'm also using, I am using a retired embossing folder on this technique, but you can use any embossing folder that you have that you think would adapt to this technique, so don't feel like you need to have this exact one. So to start, I'm actually going to bring in, well, let me show you this real quick. So with this card, this is what I'm going to make today. I have stamped all of the greenery in the is in the pots. But this is the first card that I made, and this one you can see all of these elements are actually die cut. So I chose to do the simpler version today just for time, but you can also use all of the dies to actually cut these out and make it a little different. So to start, I'm just going to set this aside, and I'm going to bring in my cut and emboss machine. I have to zoom out here a bit. There we go. And I'm going to bring in, there's just not enough room, enough room to do all of this in my space where the camera can show you what's happening. Okay, that might work. Okay, so I have a piece of very vanilla cardstock measuring 4 by 5 1/4. I've got a blending brush, my crumb cake ink, and my embossing folder. So to start, what I'm going to do is open this up, and on the logo side of my embossing folder, I'm going to take my blending brush and my ink, and I'm going to ink that up just by applying the ink with my blending brush. Now this may be a little, oh, I was going to shake that camera. Didn't realize that. This may be a little hard to see. No, I think you can see it. You can see where the embossing folder is getting a little bit tinted. Okay, I'll just go slower. Hopefully that won't wiggle my camera too much. And so you just keep applying the crumb cake ink until you have what you feel is good coverage on your embossing folder, which I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to set that aside. And then I'm going to take my very vanilla cardstock. I'm actually going to add it on the side where there is no ink, so I don't get ink all over my fingers. You're going to kind of want to line up if there's a design, like a geometrical design or something that has a pattern that, you know, instead of, in other words, putting it way over here to the side and not having the pattern equal, I'm actually going to put it right in the middle. And then I'm going to close this, and actually I'm seeing that I don't have quite enough ink that way. I'm actually going to do something different. I'm going to put it this way, and think that I might have more ink spread that way. If not, I'll just have to put some more on there. Oh yeah, that looks better. Okay, and then with the crease side of my embossing folder, I'm going to place this on first my number 1 plate, then a number 3 plate, then my embossing folder with the fold towards the machine, and then another 3 plate. And see if all of this will go through. Actually, you know what? I think that's wrong. Let me check real quick. I think I might put, yeah, I put one too many plate on. Please forgive me. that's not right. I only want one of the number 3s. Yeah, that's going to be better. Much better. Anytime you get a lot of resistance with your, oh, I forgot about the table shaking again with it. I can't find a good spot to put my cut and emboss machine so you can see without having my camera all shaky. I'm so sorry about that. But I was going to say, if you are embossing and you put layers through and it just feels tight to you, don't press it. Just find something that's a little thinner. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. I don't need my big shot anymore. I'm going to open this up, and this is the piece that I have. I will zoom in for you as I get rid of all this extra stuff. Hold on 1 second, please. Oh. Okay, I'm getting it together, just slowly but surely. Okay, and I noticed that my light is in the camera. That's a little better. Okay, and then I'm going to zoom in for you so you can see this. Okay, much better. Having a time getting this video going, so sorry. Okay, I'm going to put this underneath my paper just in case I get messy with the next part of the technique. So now I'm bringing in 3 different colors. Oh my goodness. There we go. So I have Lost Lagoon, Pretty Peacock, Mossy Meadow. And I also have 3 blending brushes. So I'm going to start out, it doesn't really matter which color you start out with. I know this one is pretty vibrant, so I'm going to start with this one. This is called Lost Lagoon. And I'm going to just take my brush, put it, oh, I want a piece of little scrap paper, excuse me for reaching in front of the camera. I just want to pounce it off like just a little bit so it's not real heavy. And then I'm just going to start applying it to just random areas of my cardstock, right over the design that we embossed. Okay, like that. Okay, then I'm going to move to Mossy Meadow. Get more on my brush, and again, tap it off a little bit, and then just proceed. Now I'm starting like really light, like I'm barely pressing down, and that would be what I would suggest. Because you can always add darker, always make things darker, but you can't make it lighter, so I always recommend just sort of starting off, I almost messed that up, starting off a little bit on the light side with your pressure in your hand, like I say, and then you can always press down if you want it to get darker, and it's a better way to control the color that you're putting down. Okay, and then this one is Pretty Peacock. Oh, this is the one I think that's so vibrant, actually. Okay, and then I'll add some here. Oh yeah, this is so pretty. I love this color and I love this technique. Okay, I think I might want to go back with some green. You could actually put some crumb cake on this too, to fill in any spaces that where some of it got darker than the other. But I think I'm actually going to use a little more of the Mossy Meadow and get a little darker with it. What do you think so far? Are you loving this as much as I do? Because I just like this. I just think it looks like really antique-y looking. And I just love this look. I think I'm good though. Actually, maybe a tiny bit more of the peacock. I don't want to get too dark. There we go. And then, once you get it looking the way you want, I think I like that. I'm going to cover these stamp ink pads. Oops, sorry again for my reach across the camera. I'm still learning about videos. I'm still a little bit of a novice, so please forgive me if I mess up. Get these out of the way. And then comes part of the magic. So now I'm going to take my gold metallic enamel effects. These are sold in a combination of three. I believe they're silver, gold, and copper. And I'm going to just take a bit of a sponge. So I've taken a regular sponge and cut it up. And then I'm just going to place my metallic ink in a big glob. I actually don't need to really put it in the center because your design is going to cover that up. But just along the edges. And you can put a good amount on there. And then, this is what I love, then you just kind of dab it out. And I'm hoping you can see this on the camera. Maybe. And I don't dab out a lot because you want it to be kind of thick, so it'll show up really bright and pretty. I hope you can see that. Yeah, I don't think you can. Oh, well, you might be able to. Oh, if you can't, that's not good because it's so pretty. But hoping that you can. Okay, I think that's good. Got a good amount on there. And then I'm going to just set that aside and actually let it dry a bit. You could use a heat tool as well. Don't have one in this room with me, plus they're so noisy on a video, I kind of hesitate to use them. So we're going to make the rest of the card and then we'll come back to this and make sure it's nice and dry. Okay, I could not find my kit with all the supplies in it. So I'm going to start out to make the focal point of the card with a rectangle from the Deckled Rectangles dies, and also I'm going to bring in a few pieces of just scrap Very Vanilla and make the pots. So I've already got that out. All right, so I'm going to start with Pretty Peacock. And this particular pot, I'm in pretty far. I'm having a challenge with this particular video. Please apologize. Please forgive me. Goodness. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so then I'm just going to apply some Pretty Peacock ink onto that stamp. Now, of course, you can turn it over and do it this way if you prefer. I'm going to stamp that right in the center. And then I'm also going to take my little blending brush, ink that up a tiny bit, just pop it off, and then I'm just going to really lightly fill that Very Vanilla space in to sort of muted peacock. Okay. Then with this one, I'm going to bring in the really long pot in this one, but we're not going to use all of it. And I'm going to stamp that with copper clay. So I'm just actually going to ink up part of it. That'll work. Stamp. And then again, I just want to mute that vanilla a little bit, so I'm going to bring in a sponge and just pop over the top of that a bit. Okay, like that. All right. Now I'm going to, let's see, I think I'm going to bring in my mini cut and emboss. And I've got plate, the #1 plate. So upside down. The #1, the #2, then my die and paper and cardstock. Put that down. Now, with most dies, when they cut, they actually leave a little border around the image. This particular set of dies does not do that. And it's kind of nice that way actually for the pots, because they look more authentic, I think, when they don't have that rim around the edge. So I'm just going to run that through. And voila. I'll set that aside. Then I'm going to bring in my rust colored one and my bigger die. And I'm going to actually, so on this die, you have, this is, I guess you can do it either way. It's going to be the top or the bottom, but I'm making this part the bottom. And I'm just going to line that up. And put my #2 plate back on top. We'll run that through. Oops, sorry. And I'm going to take that, put the rest of this aside. And then I'm actually going to just cut this with a pair of scissors at about the height I want the pot to be in the end. Okay, like that. So yeah, you could use that big pot to make, you know, for the whole thing if you wanted, but on the card I'm making, I definitely don't need it to be that big. So now I'm going to bring this back in. These are going to kind of go down in this area, so that's kind of nice to get a visual, so you kind of have an idea of where you want your actual leaf greenery to be. And then I'm going to start with this one. Take this off for now. And the copper clay ink. And I want this one to sort of be over on this side. Now you don't have to ink up the whole stem because you won't need it. It's going to get hidden. But I do want to ink up the top part and get a visual for where I want that. I'm going to actually put a piece of scrap paper under it because I am going to go off of the edge. And I think like right in there. Okay, and then because this is so fine, I actually am going to do this one twice so I have a little bit more foliage. Again, just using the same copper clay. And then the next one I'm going to use Mossy Meadow, sorry, I don't know if that used to be the name of one of our colors or not, but that just came right off my tongue pretty easily, so that's a possibility. And put that one here. Mossy Meadow, that's the name for that one. And again, I'm going to do this double, so I'm going to do 1 about right. So I'm going to overlap these a bit. Make sure I don't have that too far down. Okay. And I'm going to say here. And then again, one more time, or up here into the vanilla. Okay, happy with that. Next I'm going to use the crumb cake and my big leafy sort of palm frond looking stamp. And let me get my pot back in here so I can kind of see where this is going. Okay, I'm going to put that right up over the top of those right there. And then the only other one I'm going to use is the wild wheat. This is a fun set to play with too, because there's just so many different combinations that you can do. The one, where is that stamp set? Or that stamp, oh, I actually used this one again. Okay, so I need to clean that real quick. Just realizing that. Get out my Stampin' scrub, some mist. I have been using this stamping scrub for so many years. I should have brought a chamois in with me, but it doesn't ever seem like I have everything I want with me when I start videoing. It's just part of the game, I guess. Okay, and then we're going to use this. I kind of want to put my, oh, I lost my other pot. There it is. I kind of want to put my pots together here just so I can kind of, again, get a visual for where I want this one to go. So just right there. Okay. All right. So we're going to go right there. Yes. Okay. This way. Now, next thing I want to do is I want to grab my bone folder and some dimensionals. With my bone folder, I'm actually going to make this a little curved just by running the bone folder underneath it. Sort of like you're curling the Christmas ribbon, if you guys ever used that. I'm going to do the same thing with my bigger pot. Then I am going to get out a couple of dimensionals and put on the back of this right in the center, so it kind of keeps that form. If I can move this out of the way now so that's not so confusing looking. And I want this piece to get glued to the edge there. So I'm just going to put a tiny bit of glue right along this edge. Oh, there we go. Thank you. All right. Right along the edge there. And then I'm going to put a third dimensional right there. Okay, I'm going to give that glue just a second to dry. So while that's happening, I will get out a little tiny piece of Very Vanilla. So I have a million of these pieces. These are the pieces that I end up with when I'm trimming down a layer for a card front. Like, so for instance, this piece, instead of, you know, just cutting your cardstock in fours, which would mean a 5.5 by 4 1/4, I always cut it down to 4 by 5 1/4, and I always end up with these little strips. left over. So they're great for using for sentiments. And today I'm going to use the Something Fancy Happy Birthday stamp. And I have that mounted over here. I'm going to use my Early Espresso ink. And just pop that down. Okay. And then I'm going to just trim it. So I'm going to trim it a diagonal. Somebody showed me a really cool trick with this. So if you want your diagonals to be exactly the same, take the piece that you cut off and then layer it on the other side. I just think this is okay, about the same. So layer it like that, and then you actually have a cutting line. Just that way it ends up being exactly the same. Pretty cool. Now I do think I want to trim this down just a bit. I'm not sure I want it quite that wide. I think that'll be better size. Okay, so this should be dry now, I'm thinking. So I'm going to take my pieces, my dimensional backings off, and put this right down there. Okay, and then I am going to add the Happy Birthday right across the front of it. Alright. Right here. And of course, you could put any message on this. This is pretty all occasion, the images anyway. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in another piece of Early Espresso. I will put all the dimensions for this like right on the screen, but I'll just do this real quick and measure. Oh, wrong way. So this looks like it's about 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. But just to make sure, like I said, I will put those measurements on the screen when I edit the video. So you should be able to see them as you're watching. Okay, I'm just gonna put some glue on the back. I think the thing what I liked best about this stamp set is it was just so different. I've been a demonstrator for 20 plus years now, so anytime I see something that's like different, I'm like, oh yes, that's pretty. So I'm going to bring my background back in. Oh, you can start to see the gold, I think, a little bit better on this now. And I've also got ribbon. Now, if you follow me at all, you'll know I'm always using ribbon, but it's not always current ribbon because we don't carry every single color, and so I save my retired ribbon and use it at will. So this is 6 inches, and I'm going to add this to the back, or I shouldn't say to the back, I'm going to add it to the front, but I'm going to attach it to the back. I'm trying to see which one I would rather like better. I think I was going to put it down here at this bottom. Now, you can attach ribbon in so many different ways. A lot of people like to use the Seal Plus. I actually prefer good old Scotch tape. I know that I live in a very humid area, so some of the adhesives over the years can tend to not hold, and so I've always sort of liked the tape. I'm going to take another piece. This is also about 6 inches, and I'm just going to slide it right under there and tie a knot over to the left side. And I'm going to make it a double knot just so that it does stay put. If you choose to just make a single knot, my suggestion would be to just make sure that you attach a glue dot like in the center of your knot. just so it doesn't get, doesn't come undone. And I'm going to use these scissors, even though they're not the ones I usually use. I think they work pretty good, to trim these down. Okay. All right, then more dimensionals right here. I love dimensionals. There's just, you know, you kind of get into a style, I think, when you're a demonstrator, you know, what you like best. And popping up card elements is definitely one of my favorite things to do. I just think it gives it so much more character, dimension. So I'm going to put that down right in the center. Oh, I forgot one thing. Can I still do it? Oh, yes, I can. Okay, so I forgot because I pre-cut this. So this is a little die cut out of that set. It's like this one. And it's the handles for that pot. Kind of like totally forgot about it. But I don't think it's too late to add it, and it really does add something to the card. So I'm going to try it. The glue is not wanting to work well for me today. Alright, and let's just see if I can't just slide it right under there. Oh yeah, for sure. There we go. Yeah, that's so much better. Thank you. I love it. Okay, so we've got the dimensionals on the back of that. We're going to bring in the card base. Fold that in half. So the card base, I'm sorry, the card base is 8.5 by 5.5. and scored at 4 1/4. To give it a nice crease. And then I'm going to actually just add this with some Tombow adhesive. Right in the center. So there's about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. And you can actually add a little glue dot under the ribbon here too if you want it to be a little bit more stable. And I've just added that upside down. I can fix that. And there's your card. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, I hope you might leave me a thumbs up, or even better, subscribe to my channel so you can come back and watch me do other projects. Again, my name is Carolyn Serviss, and I will leave all of my contact information on the last screen of the video so that you'll be able to see it. Let's zoom in a little bit. You see that a little better? Can you still not see the gold? I hope you can, because this is really pretty. I hope you'll try this technique sometime and let me know how you like it. Until later, have a good evening, morning, whatever time it is in your part of the world. Thank you for joining me today.